It was a great weekend for both the Louisville men's and women's basketball teams. We'll talk about what happened on this episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Stay tuned.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy New Year, Cardinals fans. What's going on? Welcome in to another episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. Today's episode is brought to you by Sonos. Experience the game like never before with Sonos Arc, the premium smart soundbar for TV, movies, music, gaming, and more. Visit Sonos.com to learn more. As always, I want to say thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And just a reminder, the Locked On Louisville podcast is free on all streaming services, including YouTube, 5 days a week, your team every day. Unfortunately, due to an equipment issue yesterday, there was no episode on Monday, so apologize for the delay, but there will be two today. This is the first episode. We will recap the great weekend for both the Louisville men's and women's basketball teams, beginning with the men's team, analyzing the 67-64 win over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets on Sunday. We'll talk about everything you need to know about that contest. But the good news did not start there. The Cardinals picked up a commitment from 2022 four-star Kamari Lands. We'll talk about what the top 50 recruit brings to the table for the Cardinals, former Cardinal comparisons, etc. And then in the final segment, we'll talk about the women's basketball thriller victory, 50-48 over the Yellow Jackets on Sunday afternoon due to Emily Engstler's go-ahead bucket with just under 3 seconds to go. We'll analyze that contest furthermore. Before we get into the content of today's show, like I mentioned, for those who are not aware of who I am, my name is Dalton Pence. I'm a credentialed media member for Cardinal Sports Zone, where I serve as both a football beat writer and a recruiting analyst. Also do some PA announcer work for the university, so you can follow my personal Twitter in the graphic in the bottom left-hand of your screen below, and you can follow the podcast Twitter page at LO_Louisville. So let's get right on into it. The Cardinals 3-0 in ACC play. The men's basketball team defeated Georgia Tech 67-64 on the road in Atlanta on Sunday evening. It was an interesting contest. The Cards started out strong, shot the ball well. Georgia Tech went on a little run, and I believe the Cardinals led by 3 at half. And the second half, it was a little bit of a back and forth. Louisville took the lead in the last 10 minutes, and Georgia Tech made things interesting, had a couple shots that looked very good. Michael DeVoe had a chance to take the lead that rimmed out, and then Sturdivant, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. He missed a 3 at the very end to tie the game and send it to overtime. But ultimately, a win is a win for the Louisville basketball team and any team in general, I should say, especially a win in conference play on the road. It wasn't necessarily a convincing win, pretty ugly at times. When you look at what the box score shows, the Cardinals shot the ball 26.3% from behind the arc. Their perimeter shooting woes continued, just shot under 50% from the field overall, which helped them to come out and win this game. They're 14 of 22 from the line, out-rebounded Georgia Tech by 9 rebounds, 34-25, turned the ball over 13 times opposed to Georgia Tech's 9, and the largest lead in this one was 8 in favor of Louisville. 7-point lead was the largest for Georgia Tech. So ultimately, I think it's doing too much to look more into this than it really is. It's a win on the road in conference play. You can't take away the significance of that because they do build up, and we'll talk about in the second episode that is published today, that in this ACC, which doesn't have as many great teams as it usually does on a year in year out basis, it's not so much a matter of accumulating quality wins because there aren't going to be that many opportunities to do so. The name of the game for Louisville is avoiding bad losses. They have 3 on the season so far. Now, I'm not going to get into that in this episode, but it just kind of bringing that argument to the forefront for the next episode. This is a prime example of Louisville avoiding a bad loss. You play a Georgia Tech team that had lost 4 out of the last 5, albeit against very solid competition. Bubba Parham came back in this contest for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. This had the makings of a game to where, it could have gone either way. And thankfully, Louisville has been, pretty clutch down the stretch in all 3 ACC games against NC State, against Wake Forest, and then now against Georgia Tech. So you can't overlook the fact that, yes, a win is a win, regardless if the opponent is, perceived as being good or not. But overall, I think there were still some concerns. No Mason Faulkner was a tough loss because I felt like he just came off the best outing of the season or of his season against Wake Forest. He was out due to COVID protocols. Hopefully they'll have him back for Pittsburgh tomorrow. Overall, Dre Davis looks solid off the bench, 13 points. Malik Williams, big shout out to him. He has been the consistent part of this Louisville offense. He had 20 and 11, shot the ball really well, 9 for 12, 75% from the field. Matt Cross had 13 and 9. Noah Locke had 10 to go with that as well. But for Louisville and Chris Mack, I believe, I forget who said it, so I'm not trying to steal credit away or not give credit. I legitimately forgot who tweeted it out. But in the post-game press conference, Mack was asked about his bench. And he said that he doesn't have a lot of trust in the bench players right now, and you could see it in this game. Outside of Dre Davis, 2 points scored from the Louisville bench. One from Jae'Lyn Withers, one from L. Ellis. L. Ellis has been kind of had a little bit of up and down stretches due to the fact that he's still playing through some growing pains and some learning curves. And there's no Mason Faulkner, so the bench got significantly smaller for this one. But I liked what I saw from Sidney Curry. He only played a minute in this one. I liked what I saw from him against Wake Forest. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of him, but we didn't see him, didn't see Roosevelt Wheeler, didn't see J.J. Traynor, etc. And the struggles continue for Jae'Lyn Withers, who a lot of fans early on before the season had him projected as a possible all ACC caliber player, and he just hasn't been able to put it together so far. So it's going to be interesting to see as the month of January goes about what Chris Mack is going to do with Jae'Lyn Withers. Does he allow him to go through his slump and try to work out of it? Does he start to take some of those minutes away and give them to other players, like a Sidney Curry, like a Roosevelt Wheeler, etc.? Who knows what will go on there? But overall, this matchup for the Cardinals, it had It seems like the Cards struggle when they go down to Atlanta and play in McCamish Arena or McCamish Pavilion, one of the two. At the end of the day, a win is a win. The Cards are 3-0 in conference play. We're going to talk in the next episode about why the month of January is so critical for the Louisville men's basketball team, and it kind of goes further in depth on the ideology that the Cards have to avoid bad losses in the ACC and just continue to accumulate wins and try to bolster that tournament resume, because Jeff Goodman tweeted out I think it was yesterday, he's like, paraphrasing obviously, good luck finding 4 teams deserving of an NCAA tournament bid, and we'll kind of dive more into that in the next show. But he's on to something. And the Cards are going to have to bolster their tournament resume by any means possible. And it was a solid win against Georgia Tech, and then they focused their sights on Pittsburgh, and we'll look at that into the next show. Before we talk about the women's basketball victory about over Georgia Tech, I should say, I want to talk about a commitment that the men's basketball team received, and it couldn't have came at a better time for Chris Mack and company. We'll talk about that here in just a second after we talk about our friends at Get Upside. Hey, Cardinal fans, once again, this is Dalton Pence, your host, with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about, Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25% for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the app, the free Get Upside app, I should say, in the App Store or Google Play. Use the promo code SCORE and get a bonus 25% cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use the promo code SCORE to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no cash. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code SCORE to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Once again, that's code SCORE for 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. I also want to talk to you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline has had you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowl season and toward the pro football playoffs. It remains your number one spot for all the sports action. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit by using the promo code LOCKEDON. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 and 22 campaign. BetOnline is the fastest way to bet on all of your favorite sports, and BetOnline is where the game starts. All right. We're diving right on in to the new commitment that the Louisville men's basketball team received over the weekend in 4-star top 50 recruit Kamari Lands, 6'8", 195-pound small forward from Phoenix, Arizona, plays for Hillcrest Prep. Most people are aware of that. And here, let me kind of walk you through his recruitment of the past couple months. He officially visited the Cards in November. Didn't commit after the official visit. There were rumors swirling, speculation that he could possibly go pursue professional route, look into visiting the Memphis Tigers. That didn't come about, and then it kind of became a two-team race between the Louisville Cardinals and the Arizona State Sun Devils. And I got to be honest, leading up to decision day for Kamari Lands, I'd say the general consensus believed that he was going to be a Sun Devil. He was going to be playing for Hurley. However, Chris Mack and company had different plans. A huge commitment for Chris Mack for this 2022 class. Speaking of what Kamari Lands brings to the table, a very, very solid three-point shooter. I'm going to read you what Director of Basketball Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, Jerry Meyer, wrote about Lands' game back in April of last year. He has great length for a wing player and the frame to add weight while already possessing a solid frame. A good athlete with a quality shooting stroke both off the catch and off the dribble. Not as a creative ball handler or playmaker at this point, more of a straight-ahead slasher when attacking the rim. Utilizes a hesitation dribble, can get to a spot for his pull-up jumper, and is dangerous in transition. Has all the makings of being a versatile defender and can rebound for his position. When you look at the teams he was offered by, had a ton of big-time offers: Kansas, Syracuse, Memphis, DePaul, Louisville, Arizona State, etc. This is a player that could potentially come in right away and see some initial playing time. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-conference player right away, but I see a lot of parallels from his game to former Cardinal great Jordan Nwora, especially in the scoring category. When I watch both of them play, I see an advanced scoring repertoire and just a mixed offensive skill set. I'm speaking obviously of Jordan Nwora as a high school recruit rather than where he was leaving after his third year as a Cardinal to to the NBA. So I like what Jerry says. I think he's a versatile perimeter shooter, meaning that he can score off the dribble, but he's also very solid in catch and shoot situations. One of the better three-point shooters in this class. I'm not going to go out on record saying he's one of the best, but I think he's an above-average perimeter shooter in this class. Can create his own offense. When I do my NBA draft scouting, for those who are unaware, I really fancy the NBA draft. I put a lot of effort into scouting for that. I have been for the past 4 years. One of the biggest traits, one of the most important traits that I prioritize when it comes to draft scouting is the ability to create one's offense. And, it's clear that Kamari Lands has that offensive potential because he's able to pull up in transition. He's able to create his own shot off the dribble. A possible three-level scorer, whether he becomes a distinguished one, that is yet to be seen. But he does have the makings of being able to, score in the mid-range well. He's obviously a good perimeter shooter. I'm also impressed with how well he finishes around the rim. Obviously, he's going to be adding some weight in college, but I like his 6'8" frame. He has a good amount of length, handles the ball well for his size, gives me Jordan Nwora vibes. Like I said, I think he can come into Louisville, year one, kind of a minimal impact, but depending on who's here, and that's another reason why this is such a big commitment for Chris Mack, because there is no telling what this team is going to look like next season. I think as of right now, if Noah Locke were to leave or somebody like that, the Cards are right at the 13 scholarship threshold. That's assuming Noah Locke or someone else that could be back next year leaves. It's yet to be seen where Louisville goes in terms of the scoring balance, because without Noah Locke, without no Jared West, no Mason Faulkner, the backcourt that lacks a sort of production is going to be getting to the point where you don't know where that production is going to come from. You have L. Ellis, you have Mike James, who's going to be coming off an Achilles injury, but a Kamari Lands is a guy who could play the 2 or the 3. It really doesn't matter too much in a positionless basketball sense. Dre Davis also could be thrusted into the 2 spot. I think it's going to be a while before we see Tate Davis really start to impact the court for the Cardinals in a significant way. I ultimately think that Kamari Lands could see more of an initial impact, more so than Jordan Nwora had as a true freshman. Obviously, it's going to be kind of according to the leap between the freshman and sophomore seasons, respectively. And I think that this is going to be a good opportunity for Chris Mack to be able to show that younger players can succeed in this offense. And ultimately, like I said, couldn't have come at a better time, just because we're kind of you're kind of sitting here like, okay, yeah, you don't want to look too far into the future because you still have a whole conference slate to play for the 2021 season. But in the back of your mind, right beyond the peripheral vision, you can kind of see a glimpse of 2022, and there's some concerns, just because you don't really know what this team is going to look like, and it's too early to really be stressing about that, especially with the transfer portal, and we see what Mack can do with the transfer portal. But it's a very solid commitment. These are the types of guys that I think Chris Mack and company could really make their bread and butter and make a Louisville a powerhouse from getting these type of guys. Louisville's never been a school that's gotten a lot of 5-star talent. And when they do, chances are those 5 stars don't really pan out to what we expect them to be. In the 30s, 40s, 50s range, that's where I feel like Louisville has succeeded throughout the past 20-something odd years. Kamari Lands is a big commitment that could see some potential early playing time as early as his freshman season. So we'll continue to monitor the 2022 recruiting class as it continues to shape up, but very solid with him, Frederick King, and Tate Davis. Before we end the show, I want to talk about the huge thriller win for the number 3 Louisville women's basketball team over the number 16th ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Before we do that, let's talk about our friends at NetSuite. I want you to close your eyes. Imagine a scenario. This is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. It's the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth and everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of the competition. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. Head to netsuite.com/locked for this special one-of-a-kind financing offer on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. Once again, that is netsuite.com/locked. All right. The number 3 Louisville women's basketball team edged out the number 16th ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets on Sunday afternoon, 50-48 down in Atlanta. And what a game it was. Not necessarily the best game offensively for both squads either way. The two squads came into the matchup both in the top three in scoring defenses nationally. However, a lot of it was just a matter of coming down and just missing shots. The Cardinals, a couple of staggering statistics. They shot the ball 36.5% from the field, 31.3% from three. Not necessarily, too awful bad, but they were less than 45% from the free throw line. That was very key. Georgia Tech actually shot nearly 50% from three, 8 for 17. The Yellow Jackets were out with some COVID protocols. They only played 7 players, and one of those 7 players only played 1 minute. So I feel like the Cardinals really took advantage in that fourth quarter. The defense stuck out. The Cards only scored 27 points leading up to that fourth quarter, 3 in the first, 7 in the third. However, it did not matter. 23 scored in the fourth quarter. The scoring margin was 7. Georgia Tech only scored 16. Going down the stretch, Jae'Lyn Van Lith came in clutch once again for the Cardinals, and Emily Engstler. We've talked about her all year long, of her just making winning plays, but they might not necessarily show up on the box score. Well, they did on Sunday, and if you watched it, she had the steal that led to the layup that tied the game at 48, and then Emily Engstler. And first of all, shout out to Jeff Walls, man. What a play that he drew up. They saw that the play worked to get Jae'Lyn Van Lith the shot. I say Emily Engstler tied. I apologize. Hey, they got Jae'Lyn Van Lith, the shot to tie it on the inbound play in the half court. And Jeff Walls comes right back to that play. And instead of giving it to Haley or Kiana, Emily Engstler fakes the pass. And all 3 of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket defenders that were right there at about the free throw line, they all bit it. They all bit on the fake. And Emily had, I would say, it wasn't necessarily a wide open layup because it did have a little bit of a, there was some contest from the nearest Georgia Tech defender, but Emily Engstler was able to put it away 50-48, and then the desperation heave near the half court line for Georgia Tech fell through. A huge win for Louisville, a statement victory on the road against a very solid Georgia Tech team that was undermanned. Overall, Jae'Lyn Van Lith, although she did not shoot well, 2 for 10 from the field, had 7 points. It was that big shot at the end. Emily Engstler, 14 points in this one. Olivia Cochran had 7. I don't think Kiana Smith scored her first points until the fourth quarter. So, if anything, this matchup just just reflects the overall resilience that this team has, that, hey, even when this team is not playing good offensively, and they did not play good offensively at all. And, we talked about this being one of the best defensive teams that Jeff Walls has had. And I really think that this matchup shows why that is, because they win games with their defense. They scored 50 points against a top 16 team and ended up winning the game. Now, granted, Georgia Tech is not the greatest offensive team out there. They do make their bread and butter is on defense. They were the number 1 scoring defense heading into the matchup against Louisville, but it was the Cards just willing themselves to victory. I was impressed by their ability to handle adversity and just stay composed in the latter parts of the game. We look at some of the, outside of the loss against Arizona in the season opener, I look at this, in certain instances, Kentucky, UConn, even, Georgia Tech, all 3 of those games came down to the last part of the game, in the winding final minutes of the contests respectively, and the Cardinals came out on top and they played very good defense. I feel like the defense tightens up even more in the end of games, and the offense looks pretty solid as well. And I think that is just a testament to just, number one, how bought into the overall concept of what Jeff Walls is trying to do, and number 2, like I said, shout out to Jeff Walls and this coaching staff, because I feel like in a era of just to where there's I feel like there's been more like isolation ball than anything across all sports. Jeff Walz has been one of the greatest coaches in college basketball and in any type of sports setting. As you may have one star, but it's more of a team effort and stuff like that. And I think that this is one of his best coaching jobs in the in recent memory. You look back on, just because even when the shots aren't falling, the team made their tweaks in the fourth quarter, and that is where that's where teams win and lose games overall. So great victory for them. We will preview their game against Pittsburgh on the Thursday episode, so be sure to check that out. Talked about both wins for the Louisville men's and women's basketball teams in Atlanta on Sunday against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. First of all, that's weird that even happened. What are the chances of that? We also talked about what Kamari Lands brings to the table, 2022 four-star recruit brings to the Cardinal program. But we will, like I said, we will have a bonus episode out, talking about previewing the Pittsburgh matchup for the men's basketball team and talking about the January slate for the Cardinals. I also want to give a couple quick shouts before we get out of here. First, to the Cardinals Sports Zone podcast. The most recent episode dropped on Sunday, so be sure to check that out at cardinalsportszone.com. Also, the Locked On Bets podcast by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling is out on the Odyssey app or wherever you like to get your podcast. I appreciate you all being patient. I'm glad that you all are here for the 2022 and what it is fixing to be for this show, and I couldn't do it without you all. Definitely appreciate you all. Everyone have a great day. I hope you'll tune into the episode that drops later on today, which, if chances are, if you're looking at this, it might not be later today. It might already be out, but definitely check this one out first before you check that one out. That's going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.